With the big festivities of Black Ops 4 Operation Grand Heist now kind of dying down for everybody, it's been out for Xbox One and PC for almost a week now, and at this point, almost 2 weeks for PlayStation 4. A lot of players may have gotten over the initial hype. They may just be playing for whatever reason, either that being challenges, whether that be trying to get some cool gameplays, whatever your reasoning may be. The one reason that I find myself always coming back to daily is just for my different tiers and my different reserves. Or if you are in the same kind of boat, but not up to tier 101 and up, then you're probably just coming back for your contraband stream, your free tier skips. But that said, there's a lot more that you can do here for this in relatively a decent time, in which with this new revamped system, we can now take a look at some better ways to progress through the contraband stream and the fastest ways to do that. So today I want to break down some of the best tips here for you guys and a little bit of a revision of previous discussions we've had here on the topic in Black Ops 4 to let you know the absolute best ways to rank up your tiers and also maybe even get through those reserves a little bit quicker. So that said, we're going to break it down here in this one and talk about the absolute best path in order to get the maximized return out of your time put into Black Ops 4. So first thing to really note here is the brand new revisions and layout to the black market system and some of the things in place that we'll be talking about. The first thing being that, of course, the entire black market as a whole has been kind of redone in the sense of the contraband stream. As with Operation Absolute Zero, we do have 100 tiers with all items guaranteed up front in that first 100, and reserves then staying after 101 and up. So you get everything that you're guaranteed in the season right up front, no reserves that kind of take RNG luck into account that you have to grind past to get to something you end up wanting. It's all right there laid out in front of you. But where it differs from Operation Absolute Zero is that this time around, we also have earnable reserve cases, which means that you can end up theoretically earning two things simultaneously if it all works out as such. So you could rank up your tiers to get to, say, tier 30 and then also earn a reserve case at that same point during that same game. So the way that would then work out would just allow you to get some things that you otherwise wouldn't, because if you were like a lot of players and didn't get up to tier 100 as of last season, well, you missed out on a lot of reserve content that may have been in place. And granted, a lot of it is pretty much junk. It is stuff you never even got the chance to get if you never got to tier 100, let alone 101 and up to get to those reserves. So this was enacted so that players could get a little bit of the reserve content while also grinding out what they're guaranteed in the contraband stream, which in its entirety was absolutely a great idea, I think. But once you end up getting up to 101, it again still goes back to the same way in which reserves are 101 and up, so you can actually theoretically again get 2 reserve items at a time whenever you end up doing this as well. But the cool part is that because both of these things, the tier progression and also then the cases, are timed as well, they're on a little bit different intervals. It seems like the cases are a little bit more in terms of playtime compared to that of each tier. The tiers are 1 hour set. It seems like maybe about an hour and a half for each case. That's still something that's relatively hit or miss, and not everybody has the exact details down. But what's nice about these tips is that you can end up doing both of them and they apply to both scenarios. So jumping into my preferred method here, what I think is the gold standard on how to do this and get the most out of the least amount of time, actually comes down to a very specific method, but of course it isn't necessarily the only way to do this. It's not like there's one definitive right or wrong way to do it, but I'll give you guys the brief rundown of sort of the chain of events here and then also explain a little further once we detail that. So what you want to do is start out with actually zombies. You might not be the biggest zombies players, but it is something that is rather interesting because when you come into zombies, you have the ability now as of recently to get 2 tier skips within Black Ops 4 just by playing even theoretically 1 match of zombies. So you end up having your tier skip that is available for all 3 modes across the board, whether that be winning a game in MP, getting 1 merit in Blackout, or reaching round 15 in zombies. But then as of recently, because there's not any progression that goes towards it in the timing base of things, zombies ended up getting a secondary daily tier skip, in which if you end up completing the daily callings, which is just an arbitrary challenge that kind of gently pushes you into a way of trying something out that you otherwise wouldn't have, if you end up completing that, you'll also as well get another daily tier skip in that. So when you consider it, for the most part, it takes probably about 30 minutes to get to round 15, give or take a minute or two, depending on how fast you can progress through things. And whenever you consider that a lot of these challenges can be done all in one sitting in the same game, one that going back in post-editing now is that you can end up getting 100 explosive kills for this, which is rather easy with grenades on, say, a horde of zombies if you end up getting them all together and just chucking your grenade into them, or you can end up getting a launcher out of the mystery box or something like that. It is something that, while it seems rather high, it's not not all that much in the grand scheme of things. But theoretically, you can end up getting 2 tier skips out of just 30 minutes of playtime, whereas in any other game mode and beforehand in Zombies, it'd be about 30 minutes for 1 tier skip. So when you consider also the timing of everything else, being that it's 60 minutes for a tier, it's a really good deal for the amount of time that you end up putting in if you can complete both those challenges. Of course, if you get to round 15, it is something that you won't always get that challenge, but you'll probably be rather close to it. One such example I had is that I was round 15 or 16 and I was like 4 off or something like that. I thought I was closer, but it only took me a few extra minutes to get it by starting up another match. Although, here's the catch, because like we said, there is no tier progression within Zombies, so once you end up getting round 15 in that daily calling, just dip out of there. If you're attached to it, of course, you can finish the game and all that kind of stuff if you really care that much. But again, I know a lot of people here on the channel mostly play MP, maybe Blackout, but once you get both those daily callings, if you don't care and you just want to jump right back into grinding it out, well, then jump out of that game and switch over to my preferred method of Blackout. Though, again, that's not the only way. But you do want to make sure that once you get those 2 out of Zombies, you want to be done with it, because after that, you don't get anything outside of that extra playtime. So theoretically, you hit the daily calling and round 15. Anything after that in that match will not progress you at all. So if you're trying to be speedy with it, you're just wasting your time after that. But that said, outside of it, we've seen a couple of things added in or some things altered that make some other ways also in just standard MP or Blackout completely viable as well. The best thing, of course, that I always come back to is that of Blackout if you want to just guarantee your playtime, because all you got to do is land somewhere off in the distance. You play a little more passively. Don't get up in the action until maybe, say, the very end. You don't have to land Construction Zone. You don't have to land Ghost Town or anything that might challenge you and kill you instantly off the bat, in which you may have a game time of only a minute or 2. So you can end up taking your time and playing a little more passively, and it'll get you probably roughly 10 to 15, maybe even 20 minutes of in-game playtime without any menus or anything like that. So it's a good chunk towards your tier progress and even your case progress as well. If you end up staying alive, you'll progress your tiers roughly every 3 games or so, which is pretty good in the grand scheme of things. But again, that key is to just try and stay alive as much as possible. You're choosing Blackout because it doesn't have the guarantee of the downtime between rounds or the downtime in pre-game lobbies or anything like that, compared to, say, a TDM game in which you encounter that every 6 or 7 minutes or so. But if Blackout's not your thing, that's totally cool, because there are actually probably 4 game modes that I would suggest that are great for this no matter what, just based off of playtime. And probably in this order, it is something that I guess comes down to the variables like the teammates you have, the variables like if you can elongate the game to round limit and things like that. But the game modes of Safeguard, Control, Domination, and probably Search are the best ones here up on deck. And of course, the objective with these, because it is time-based, is to elongate them as much as possible. So for example, Safeguard is a great example of this here, because if you end up taking it to overtime, you end up having your 3rd as well as 4th round here for this, in which if you end up maxing it out, it takes 20 minutes of in-game playtime, which is again a guaranteed 3rd off that tier progression just from 1 match. Now granted, you're not going to hit 20 minutes every single match, and even if you do take it to overtime, sometimes it'll probably result in a 15-minute match, but that's definitely better than a domination game or something that is usually around 11 or 12 minutes with a halftime in there. Plus, when you consider your standard modes that a lot of people just gravitate towards, like TDM, you're probably going to have 3, maybe 4 minutes out of every 10 that are in menus or pre-game lobbies, countdowns, and whatever that go into it as well. So, that said, while for, say, Safeguard lobbies may be limited because it's not the most populated playlist, it's certainly possible to find some games, and if you end up playing it like that, you can make some solid dents in as well. Now, I definitely advocate for Safeguard, especially as of recently. I've been trying to do some challenges here for it, and it really wasn't all that sweaty. It was kind of just like an easygoing game mode that allowed you to put the time in, and depending on your loadout, you could definitely do very well with it. But getting those challenges done, but also seeing the progress made on tiers compared to other game modes I may play in MP, it's definitely become a front runner for my favorite modes in terms of doing this kind of stuff, because right now I am just playing for challenges and for tier progression. So at that point, it's definitely worth it. Things like Domination again and Control, play for as long as you can here at this Control. If you can take it to round limit, that'd be awesome. Chaos Control is something that usually works a little bit better here for this, because you can elongate the games, not even kidding, to about 40 minutes or so, and even longer, because there is no limit on lives, plus you end up having extended time that you can play for each round. So when those come back, the endurance game modes, of course, you can throw those in the mix as well. But definitely, I'd advocate for Safeguard, Control, Domination, and Search in those standard playlists if you're just looking to get the most out of the playtime. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is something that actually was added in just as of Operation Grand Heist, and it's something we've seen one introduction of so far. It might actually change as of tomorrow because we do have a refresh of these special orders, but that is a purchasable tier boost bonus for your contraband stream that was available out of some special orders. The only one that we've seen so far came bundled with the Party Rock camo, that being the SOG 9mm reactive camo that came with a bunch of other things that are relatively useless if we're honest with you. I even touched the emote stickers or calling card that also came with it, but it is something the camo is really cool as is. Plus, when you buy it, you get a 5% tier boost on your progression, and this is something that you can end up maxing it out by the end of the event at 25% tier boost bonus. So that means that ultimately when you end up getting that full 25%, if you buy into each of the different boosts that come along with different presumably special orders, because you have that 25% off of the time that you need to do, it's only going to take you 45 minutes to get through a tier rather than the standard base 60 minutes. So that'll definitely get very useful for people trying to rank up through their tiers, either towards the end getting that final push to tier 100 or just going further into the reserve cases after 100. But the one thing that is still kind of up in the air here for this, because we are still so early on, is that are we going to see this every other week or so like that? It's 10 weeks on the operation, so with the potential of 25%, one can maybe assume that we'll have 5 things like this that are bundled with a tier boost, so maybe one every other week, or maybe it's something that every special order, because it's not necessarily on a 7-day or 14-day rotation, we'll see that the special orders actually rotate for the first time tomorrow on PlayStation 4, which is an odd 11 or 12-day cycle instead of the 7 or 14 that we've seen beforehand. Maybe each individual special order will come with that 5% bonus, but you only have the ability to max out at 25. So theoretically, you could maybe buy more, but you'd only get that 25. I guess we'll see in time, but that's something, of course, definitely keep in mind and to take into consideration as we progress through the operation, and as you may want to get some sort of boost on your progression throughout the contraband stream and further on in the black operations. But that said, that's where we're going to wrap it up here at this. I want to give you guys some different tips and some updated information compared to what we've talked about beforehand. I definitely think that the best way to do this is to get to round 15 and then also do that daily calling, so you get 2 for 1 in about a 30-minute span, back out, and then jump into grinding whatever you want in MP, again, of those preferred modes of Safeguard, Control, Domination, and Search, or maybe even just Blackout if you feel confident in your ability to stay alive. So that said, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is there anything you'd like to add to this little guide tutorial, or anything you'd alter in any way, shape, or form? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, MP, Blackout, Zombies. We got you covered the best of updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best place to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Well, that's it. That is what I thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.